Greetings everybody, welcome to G4G on YouTube. Today we're taking a look at Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux version 0.0.0.5, or what is probably known as the last release client, or excuse me, the last pre-alpha release client before we see a public alpha. So I just want to go ahead and get a few things out of the way, as I always have to do this in the beginning of every video, because people don't pay attention and I get asked the same questions 2,000 different ways from sideways on this. So before I even engage in any of the gameplay, mind you, I just unzipped it, so I don't honestly know how it'll go yet, but I have the Windows mixer up just in case the sound is bad. And as you can see here, there is the old version pre-alpha 0.4, which was the previous video, and I'm going to be looking at 0.5 today. So, yes, this is real. As you can see, this is my hard drive. This is my game drive. This is a real game. It's not fake. These are all my other games. There's Dauntless, there's Destiny 2, Diablo 3, I forget what ES Legends is, but there is Gigantic, which is now defunct and actually needs to be deleted. RIP. Gigantic, Good Old Games, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Magic the Gathering, Arena, my Origin folder, Paladins, Quake, and of course the big ones, World of Warcraft. So this is real, just as you can see. And also this is what your folder structure should look like if you were also doing pre-alpha testing. The 05 zip will extract into its own directory rather than overwrite any of your older ones. So again, real game. You can see it real on my hard drive, exposing all my games to you guys. So some of the things we need to tackle here in the beginning of every single video, because we always get asked about it. No, this will not be on Facebook. This is a standalone release that will not be distributed through any of the typical game platforms. Not Good Old Games, not Steam. This will be a direct download link from a file host to be determined later. Mega is what is being used now. We may do other things. We may do mirrors, so on and so forth. Hey, you know, eventually it would be nice if potentially people with server hosting, we could create a legitimate website for the project and host it over there. However, that could risk a little bit of exposure to it that maybe we don't want, but that remains to be seen. I think the game should live out there in the wild for at least a few months, and if we're not catching any heat, maybe that is a good idea in the future to do some dedicated hosting and websites for it. You can find information about the game on Reddit and Discord and Facebook. There is a Discord group dedicated to it. There is a Facebook group dedicated to it. I will pop that one up for you over here. As you can see, it is called MAA Redux. If you do apply to be part of this group, you would want to make sure you answer all of the questions that you are asked upon entry. Otherwise, you will be denied. It is entirely possible to use this video saying this is where I found out about it from. That's valid, but you must answer all three, otherwise we'll reject it. The game will be translated into various languages. There will be a Spanish version, a Portuguese version, etc., etc. I don't know how many translation teams are working, but I think there are several big ones. We had a recent influx of Vietnamese a couple weeks ago. They're probably working on some translations. Spanish, I know, is super big and is probably being translated. And I know there was a big Brazilian contingent, so I'm sure Portuguese is also being done. No, none of your progress from the previous game will come through for this. So no matter where you were on a mobile version or the old Playdom version or the Facebook version, you will not have access to any of that, as we do not have access to player data. If you honestly think about it from a IT perspective or an IT security perspective or a you know, account-wide perspective, it would be very dangerous if we did have access to that, because we wouldn't even know if credit card information would be exposed in that. Likely it was somehow being passed through Facebook, and Facebook was handling the credit card portion, but still we wouldn't even want access to it. So no, you will not have access to who you were beforehand. Everybody's starting at square zero. No, the game will not require purchase of any kind. The game is free. It will be delivered to you for free, and you will not be able to buy gold with real life currency the way that you did when it was on Facebook. Again, we are seeking no money in this project. There are no donations. We are not accepting it. And when I say we, I should say as a tester, we, but the real we is the dev, Goofy Troll. He is not accepting money for it. That presents us with a greater risk when working the project. If money changes hands, if you want an example of that, you could look at add-ons for games like Skyrim and Fallout, and more importantly, World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has stated no add-ons to a game are allowed to be charged. Because we are the hosts of the games. You are making an add-on for it. You are not allowed to charge for it. So anytime money changes hands, that's bad. Also, in terms of some of the other things going on here in the game, you definitely don't want access to money. We're not looking for any support on the project whatsoever. Copyright has been a big question. A lot of people have asked, you know, how's it going to be with copyright? Will Disney come down and squash this? Will people's hopes get up there? And will we have an issue coming down the road where people get emotionally invested in the game again? I just want to check the sound over here. Make sure it's not too loud for the video. Yes, it is too loud for the video. So, alright. Let's try it again. Okay, there we go. So, we don't want... We don't really worry about what's happening with the copyright. And I'll get a little bit of background music over here, just like I used to do on my videos back in the day, since there is no music currently. We're not really concerned about copyright issues with it, because we're pretty sure we are going to fly under the radar when it comes to this. This is a small fan-made project. It doesn't have the biggest amount of exposure in the world. Prior to this getting in the hands of Goofy, the people were prepping for us to have to do the repurposing route. So essentially what that was is that we were going to rework the colors and the names of characters in the game so as not to hit upon copyright issues. So by that I mean, you know, we weren't going to be as cheesy as renaming Iron Man into Ferris Dude. That's the joke that I always like to say. The speed is much better in this version over here. The font looks pretty good. Things might be slightly off-centered with it not being, with it being full screen. So we're not really concerned with it. We do have backup plans of alternative characters and looks, and you know, like I said, we weren't going to sit here and rename Iron Man into Ferris Dude, but kind of, sort of. There was a whole team that recolored a bunch of sprites, and we were working on renaming people and everything like that. However, it looks like we are going to be releasing the game in a method that will just have all the characters. So here are some of the screens that are getting worked on. A lot of XMLs have been exposed that have been revealing what's going on with the Spec Ops and the Covert Ops. Apparently, a lot of my videos previously have been used to recreate all of these subscreens that we're looking at. So, just recently, my video for the end of PvP Season 32, which you may know was the last PvP season we went through, that was used to recreate a lot of the PvP screens. Some other videos have been used to harvest this screen, where the buttons were, what the layout looked like, frame highlights, so on and so forth. And yes, this is cycling right now, but as you can see, a lot of things have been restored. So you have the people in training down here, which goes from empty to Human Torch. You have the recruit button available, you have a price, you have the classes, you have the split between who you own under all and who is still recruitable, and of course you have the ISO and skill screens. And you can see this is taken from later in the game, as there are 2 empowered ISO slots over there. The mission screen was available and of course takes you to a map. What might be a nifty feature in the game, and again, I don't like adding work for Goofy, but if there was, like, before combat started, perhaps a back button over here, or like an exit button that's like, oops, wait a minute, that was the wrong team, I don't want to bring this in to this fight, at least until combat starts. So sort of like hitting a back button on your Android device. Speaking of Android device, another question I get is, will this be available for any of the mobile platforms? Will it be available of things outside of just a standard PC? The answer is possibly, but I'm not going to be able to give you a raw percentage of that. I don't fully know the chance that it will hit other platforms. It is being released on Windows PC, because this is all being done in Flash, and of course a Windows PC is where you really want to be able to work with Flash more than any other device out there. There may eventually be a Mac version, and there may also be a way of compiling it for Android, but I don't want to get anybody's hopes up yet on that, so I'm not going to make a firm prediction that there will be an Android version out there. However, it is something that's been discussed often enough that there is a possibility, along with a Mac version. Linux, like, don't even ask me about Linux. Nobody has, so just don't even bother. iOS, it's tough. The reality is, an APK for Android can be sent to you very, very easily, and it can be delivered to you without going through the Play Store. You just have to flip a setting that says, I want to install devices from unsafe locations. iOS, unless you're running a jailbroken device, it is very, very hard to install an IPA, not to be confused with beer, an IPA onto an Android device, an Apple device, be it an iPhone or an iPad. So I would really not get your hopes up for Apple devices. This is an interesting team. However, Android, there is a little bit of a possibility that we can get it going. So your next question that you're going to ask me is, okay, well, when can I play this? You will likely be able to play this. Again, I'm never going to guarantee anything 100% because things happen. I just recently weathered a hurricane in Raleigh, and I had no idea if I was going to lose net, lose power, lose my domicile. My girlfriend and I didn't know if we wanted to evacuate the area. She had family in DC. That was a consideration. I had family in Wilmington. They're not doing very well right now. So, you know, things happen in life. So, the plan, and I'll state it that way, is that this will get in people's hands on September 30th, so essentially the end of the month. You may say, okay, well, how am I going to find out about it? where am I going to get it from? Well, the key is to keep up with my videos. When it does get a public release, I will definitely be doing a video on it, and we'll link it at the time. Also, you want to join the Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux Discord and the Facebook group, and the information will come out there. Also, we do now have a little corner of Reddit that is devoted to the project, and you can also find out about it on the MAAR Reddit. So all of those locations will have some information for you come the release date. Again, it may be not the 30th if something happens or Goofy finds some really crazy bug in the code, but at least something... Well, that was weird. At least something should come out at the end of the month. The next question a lot of people ask me is, what about the agent? Every video you're doing, I'm never seeing an agent. Like, are we going to lose the agent? The answer is no. You are not going to lose the agent. The longer answer is the agent will be coming in a future release because an agent is more involved. They have different ISOs because they don't have any character-specific ones, and you have to worry about gear. We're thinking of perhaps preloading you with a little bit of gear, and I want to pitch to Goofy, maybe branding the game with a, maybe like for the first week or maybe the first 2 weeks, that if you download in the first 2 weeks, you get a piece of gear, and then we remove it from future versions and bring it back later. So, if you don't know the history of it, Justin Woods pitched this game on a network called G4 TV. I happened to find out about it in an episode of, or Tech... G4 TV was the name of it. Yeah. So there was Attack of the Show, and then I believe G4 TV was the one that dealt with gaming. Justin Woods was being interviewed by Adam Sessler on a G4 TV episode, and he was pitching this game, and he said, oh, I want to make it as good as Final Fantasy VII, and I want it to be epic. By the way, here's beta code. So anybody who watched that episode got a beta code to join in part of the Facebook beta test, and if you did, you got a gadget called the X-Play gadget, and I'm going to see if I can find you that gadget right now and show it to you. Let's see, search. I think it is X-Play might reveal it, or maybe it's X-Ray. It was oh, that really sucks. Uniform supplies. Yeah. It was a gear item. I wonder if I'll be able to find it. We'll take a moment away from the video here and see if I can find it. Might be a hyphen. I might have to search for it hyphenated. Let's try that. X-ray. That's going to give me the character. X-ray, 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 photon, encephalorray. Ooh, look at that. Marvel XP. Who remembers Marvel XP? So that actually is a question that's been coming up recently. How about the items that used to be available from the Marvel XP thing in the beginning of the game? So if you didn't play in the beginning, you wouldn't have known that there was a bonus for playing several different Marvel games and getting them installed on different devices, and if you hit certain tiers, you got rewards. So it'd be like, okay, if you reach this level of Marvel XP, here's this gun, here's this gadget, and everything like that. So obviously that's not going to be in the game when it releases because of the fact that there's not going to be an online component of it. And yep, here it is. This is it, the Exploiter. This was the item. So it was a quick action, but it had a long cooldown of 4 rounds. It did blinded and it did staggered. This would go on to become a very, very needed debuff once we got the Hugins Eye. And you needed to get that staggered on people. That's weird. This went silent over here. Not really too sure why. Let's knock this down a notch. Blinded was okay, but staggered became super useful later on, and but the cooldown was too big for me. I never used it. But this was my badge of honor because X-Play... Okay, G4 TV was the network, X-Play was the show. The tooltip names the gear X-Play Exploiter, but it only is equipped as Exploiter. That's why the searches were not coming up. I would love to see us brand the game in the first couple weeks with an item that maybe you can get as an early adopter, and then after 2 weeks, maybe a month or so, we remove it from the download and maybe reintroduce it a little bit later. This way people who got right on board with the game in the first few weeks of being able to download it kind of have a badge of honor, similar to how that Exploiter for me was a badge of honor that I was part of the beta. Now, some of you might think, oh, well, that doesn't sound very fair. If I didn't download it in the first 2 weeks, I can't get the gadget. No, we would make it available later on. However, if you've ever been part of any beta or alpha testing in any game, there is usually some kind of badge or avatar or something similar that says, hey, you know, you've been doing this since day one. You're a day zero type of person. You get like maybe a border on your frame, like it's gold or silver, or, you know, some kind of crazy avatar. I know in Heroes of the Storm, I have an A with a circle around it for being part of the alpha, a B with a circle around it for being part of the beta. So maybe we can find a way of doing that, like branding the game for the first couple weeks. Kitty Pride stamina didn't go up. That was weird. I hit pass, regained stamina. Let's try this again. Uh-oh. There's a bug. Her stamina's not going up. And neither is She-Hulk. Alright, well, see? There's a bug. So, people might be asking, how do I help Goofy Troll? We're gonna have bug forms in visible places, and I think I just discovered one over here. That I can't win this battle because I can't get any stamina back. And also, that's a repeatable bug where the last attack has gone on 3 times. It happened in the last battle that I lost too, so we'll try one more. We'll go 20, 21, and 22. And we will pick encounter 18. Okay. Funny that I'm seeing Spider-Man over here, as I've been reading a bunch of the about the different Spider-Man uniforms in Spider-Man for the PS4, which, by the way, so far looks to be a glorious game. Girlfriend and I were tired of being cooped up from the hurricane over the weekend, so on Saturday we went out for dinner and then zipped over to the Best Buy and picked that up. And she played it quite a bit last night, and so far it looks really fun. And I know there's well over 20 Spider-Man suits in that game. As a matter of fact, I want to do a video on how some of those suits relate to the Marvel games that we've played, like MFF and MAA and everything. So look for that on the channel. That seemed to be a little slow. And why has the power armor done anything? I think it has. This is not paying attention. There it is, yeah. So it seems like maybe stuff around She-Hulk is a little slow. Her attack seemed a little laggy, and her damage received was a little laggy. So this fight seems good. I don't think I'm gonna lose this fight. Quick actions, again, still are a little slow to launch. Okay, so it seems there's a little bit of a bug when the enemy ends a fight as compared to when I win a fight, and stamina recharging isn't working, although it has worked in other versions. So we'll do one last fight and then we will wrap up the video. Spec Ops heroes, like, people are asking, like, well, how am I going to get those? We are recreating the Spec Ops as best as possible. You can see there's some original artwork being done over here. The initial release will just have the characters that the game released with back in its Facebook and Playdom era, and then the rest of the heroes will roll out. The version of the game that is being used is the version of the game as to how it died. So people like, okay, well, what version of Marvel Avengers Alliance is this? Is this the original release version? Is this somewhere in the middle? Is it how it was the very last day of the game? This is code taken from the very, very last day of the game, basically. So how the game... we have a hang-up. That hasn't happened in a hot minute. Okay. So, how the game ended up on that last day in 2016, that is the code base for this. So, that'll be things like the nerfed Iron Fist, the nerfed Amazing Spider-Girl, the stamina issues in PvP, all of that stuff. The worthy, the double drain heals on Escutcheon and being unstunnable and everything like that. Once it is out in the wild and it cooks for a little bit and is in people's hands, then we will probably go back and fix the bugs that we know were obvious bugs. Changes in terms of balance and everything like that, like people like, oh, I don't want the worthy, they were too powerful. It's gonna happen. Like, you're getting the worthy, and it's not going to be balanced out. Like, that is not the intent of the early releases of the game, to do balancing acts over here. Oh, we're going to nerf Kurth because Kurth was too powerful, or, you know, so on and so forth. That is not what's going to happen in the beginning. And I don't know that we would ever touch that. Fixing a bug is one thing. Making power creep tweaks and everything like that, I don't know. That might not be in the spirit of the game. So we will finish up this Cyclops fight, and we will wrap it up. I'm really happy to have been told several times from one particular viewer that a lot of my older videos have exposed a lot of UI elements in the game and made them visible to be reused again. It's nice to know that your work is an archive, so to speak. And I'm not going to take the sole credit for it. You could have gone to Inhuman Beatdown, CJ Edwards, Kingfisher, anybody who was producing content at the time. The thing that was handy is I was able to have a one-on-one conversation with the person, and they're like, well, I'm looking for this, do you have a video on it? And here it is. Or how about this video, is there anything here? And like, oh good, I needed that screen. So definitely a very robust work in progress. We've got a lot of good things coming over here. Again, here's a final shot of what it looks like to go onto the team window. Still got bugs, but progress is there, and hopefully a really nice public alpha will be hitting everybody's hands in the end of September. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and this will probably be my last pre-alpha video until the public alpha comes out, but I'll still be producing Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux content as much as I can. See you, everybody.